I'm a blonde guy. So any lady with black hair, I can't take them seriously. Recording in progress, everybody got that. I can't take someone with blonde with dark hair seriously. Or my bias that I had is many a days I was listening to politicians, and if they spoke with a strong accent, I couldn't take them seriously. But then I read Grady Montash's speech. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Look at what he's saying when I read it. But when he spoke, I'm like, wow, how can that's the way that he speaks English? And that's a massive bias that we have. Now, sometimes we have other biases. We've got confirmation bias. So I won't listen to Natalie because Natalie is not agreeing with me, but I listen to Marie. Why? Because what Marie is saying is true to what I want. So I've got confirmation bias. Or I've got national bias. You know, you come from that country, so I can't take you seriously, but this country is awesome. Or that gender, or that age, or that socioeconomic group. Or he's the male, so he's always right. Or she's the female, she's always the victim. Whatever bias we have in our brains takes a message and breaks it. There are other things as well. Sometimes there's just a language or a cultural gap. You are so caught with two black people getting a divorce. There is a massive gap in cultural understanding that you need to have. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of the cues, a lot of the subtext, and a lot of the outcomes. We just don't have the cultural understanding of that. We don't have the knowledge. So if I come in and George used to be an engineer. Now George comes and tells me, you know, all the lights, well, bells, whistles, everything. And he explains it to me in the most amazing way. I just don't get it. Why? I don't know. I don't have the knowledge to understand the words that he is using. Now we said as mediators, we've got like, okay, you know what? Husband, wife, welcome to mediation. This is the process going to be. Firstly, we're going to, and then we have all these AR 51.9, and then the process 2.2.3.6, and then we're going to do this, and then we'll do arbitration, and then we're going to do a calculation, and the fact is you are clearly communicating what you're going to do. They just don't get it. They don't understand. Why? Because they don't have the knowledge you have. And the final part is that there are emotional things that happen. Now, this is a heightened emotional state. Someone comes in crying, comes in defiant, comes in, I'm just going to keep quiet. I just want to see this through. I'm not going to participate. I just want to go through the motions so that I can get a divorce, so that I can move on with my life. And all of these things are playing around in the table, which you are the one managing. Please note that the outcome of this is that people will say, I understand. Natalie, I understand what you're telling me. But the idea that Natalie had in her mind of a red car is fundamentally different to what the receiver is getting in their mind. It's still a red car. It's just completely different. I understand the mediation process. Yes, but it's completely different to what it actually is. And as mediators, we need to be really clear in the way we communicate to make sure that everybody's on board with what we do. Why? Because that's where the feedback comes in. That's where I need to ask and say, Miriam, are you clear on this? Tell me what you are hearing. What are you expecting from this? So that I can hear in Miriam's word what she is expecting from this, so that I can see if it's connecting with what I just told her. Because maybe I said, you know what, the process can take between 2 to 6 months. Miriam, what are you expecting? No, to be done in 2 months. Okay. Not what I said. So selective hearing, now I need to, in the feedback, get to the point of understanding. Why? Because the outcome of communication is this, that we need to agree on what is being said. That we have clarity, that the idea that I have in my mind is equal. Please hear me. We don't need to agree on everything, but at least we know we're talking about the same thing. So if I ask Trish, what's your favorite football team? Trish says, yeah, you know what? Manchester United. And I'm like, Trish, how silly are you? The best football team in the world are the Green Bay Packers. We are not even talking about the same sport, but now we're trying to reach an agreement. So let's just get to agreement of why we are communicating and what the outcome is. George, question. George, just tilt down as well. I love your ceiling. I just would like to see your mouth as well.
If I change the angle, then I struggle to see on the screen.
Oh, perfect. Don't worry. No worries. Yes, George.
Just a question on the receiving, transmitting and receiving.
Yes.
Obviously, sometimes you would get a situation where a person is putting a message forward, but one would find that in its brain, that person thinks of message A, but out of lips comes message B. How often does that happen? Because that can be quite an obstacle, because that's causing a fight, because the message doesn't make sense what the person is saying, but in its own mind, it makes sense to that person. Thank you.
George, so yes, I'm fine. So what my body language is telling you, what my words are telling you are fundamentally different things. So our approach in this is always, when it comes to mediation, when it comes to conflict management, when it comes to having people work through difficult situations, my approach that I coach my clients on is, if you see something, say something.
Sorry, Louis.
Yeah,
Louis, I'm not specifying body language, but I've had situation where a person puts a message forward,
yeah,
and you pick it up as message A, but that's not what the person meant, because the person's words wasn't clear and missed some of the indicators, or the information wasn't there properly. You
so
understand?
George, yes,
So
absolutely. Yes. So this is
you
where
get
this
that
comes
situation. The person thinks of, let's say, of item A, but when you hear it, it sounds like item B. You understand? So it's not. So it's got nothing to do with body language. It's just the way the person's putting the message over. But obviously, it makes sense. What you're saying is to say, just saying, is this what you mean? This is how I understand it. And this is where sometimes a lot of fighting happens, because your perception picks something else up into the message, is what the person wanted to relay over. Thank you.
And now there's heightened emotions, and someone says that they want something, and now I'm reading the emotional response behind that. I want the beach house. No, you can't have the beach house. Why? Because that's what I told my mother-in-law that I told my mother she can go to retire. Now you're taking away that thing. So it's not being clear. And George, that's where this comes in, to be able to say, am I hearing you correctly? And many a times people will verbally vomit. They will just go on a monologue, like, oh. And you need to bring it together to say, okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what I'm hearing. Is that true? And many a times people just need to hear someone else bounce it back to them, go like, no, that's not what I meant at all. Or, well, now that you put it that way, yes, that's what I want. Or that's not what I want. So it's just in reframing and giving back what they want. All right, good. So ladies and gents, why don't we express in communication? What would be reasons why people don't help or don't speak up? The first one is just fear of rejection. Now, again, heightened emotions, we are in a divorce settlement. Now, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to share my ideas. Why? Because I'm scared someone might say, that's a stupid idea. So now I'm coming from, I want to even say abusive relationship, just a relationship where the one party is stronger than the other one. The junior party or the subservient party will not be able to share what they want to share. Why? Because the other person still has a power play in that. Like, no, Janet, you can't say that. How dare you say that? And as mediators, we need to protect Janet, to go like, Janet, wait. Janet, what is your opinion? Wait, Louis, I hear you. Wait, it's Janet's turn. Janet, what did you want to say there? And Louis, wait, I hear that you're interrupting. Wait, let's give Janet an opportunity to speak. And protect her voice and give her an opportunity to speak. The other one is that they don't want to share their opinions. Why? Who am I? Oh, you know, who am I? Now, the flip side of this is I don't want to share my opinion because I'm playing my cards close to my chest. I don't want to tell you that I want the kids in the beach house. Why? Because my friend that got divorced not share any information. So I'm just playing everything close to my chest. I'm not sharing information, so we're not going to get to a solution. Why? Because I'm holding on to what I want. And there's not openness, there's not clarity in the process that we have. People don't share their feelings. Why? Because other people don't care. I'm not going to tell George that I'm frustrated with the divorce settlement. Why? because he's already taken so much from me. I'm not gonna tell him more. I'm not gonna give him more. He doesn't care. This mediator person, they just don't care. So why am I going to share this? Now, again, this is not therapy. This is mediation. But there's a heightened emotional state that we just need to acknowledge. And finally, people can't tell you what they want. You know, what's that song from? Just tell me what you really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I wanna ziggy, 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 zig. Ah, they can't even tell you. What do you want? I just want this to be done. Okay, I hear you. What else? How do you want this to be done? I want to live in peace. Okay, great. So how are we going to get there? I want to be able to have access to my children without bad-mouthing their father. Okay, great. How are we going to do that? What do we really want here? I want to be able to release my ex-husband so that he can go and have a different relationship and be happy so that I can be not so that. And also, I want to be happy. Ladies and gents, here's the biggest driver. Many of this is driven by past experiences. If it's your second divorce, if your sister or your brother or someone close to you got a divorce, that's all part of the experiences that now comes into play. So it's not just Trish and Louis having a conversation. It's Trish and all the well-meaning insight that her friends, neighbors, brother-in-law, whoever gave her, as well as Louis and everybody that I have on my side. And these mindsets are now coming to a clash around the table. And you need to clean that up. So that's the outcome of communication. So just that you know, when we talk about communication, when you as a communication specialist, there are 4 things that you need to keep in mind. I'm going to go through this quickly, but please raise your hand if there's anything that jumps out at you. So the 4 reasons why we communicate. The first thing that we need to be clear on is just why are we communicating? And it's obvious that there needs to be what's the change we want to see. We are not divorced. We want to be divorced. We want to be there happy. We want to get to an amicable solution. We want to make sure everybody's okay with the outcome of this. We want to be able to walk away in peace with healthy children as much as that can be, and be able to negotiate and be open with each other. If I can't take the kids for the weekend, Debbie and I can have a conversation as grown-ups to come to an amicable solution that we can solve the problem. So that's the outcome. The other 3 parts that you need to take in mind is just the respect goal, the relationship goal, and for you as a mediator, your self-respect goal. So the respect goal is, how do I want the other person? Mediating, we need to keep that in mind of both people. If I'm sitting here and I'm mediating between Johnny and Jenny, how do I want Johnny to feel about himself at the end of this? How do I want Jenny to feel? And most often it is, I want them to be heard. I want them to feel that they are participating, that there is an outcome. That's the outcome. So if that is true, how do we get to that point? How do we get to the point? How am I going to change my approach to get them to that point? So here's a couple of things. Show common ground. If you've been through a divorce and you're mediating, you can start with that, saying, ladies and gents, I've been through this, or I've been through this 100 times with other people. This is more for business, but just stick with me. Please acknowledge effort. If someone was hard up in the previous session and they're coming in and they are now just a little bit more relaxed, they're not as aggressive as last time, please acknowledge that, even at the end of the session. Mr. Divorcer, thank you so much. I just want to say, I want to acknowledge today that you did well. I see that you bit your tongue and that we actually made a lot of progress today. If you see something, say something. What would make future? So sometimes it's viable just to let the person verbally vomit. Yeah, but just let them get it out, because we need to deal with things here. We need to get it out of our brains, because inside our minds, we will confuse ourselves. Everything is too close. We can't get context on it. We can't get perspective. So the question, or the quote that we have there is, show respect to people even when they don't deserve it. Respect is not a reflection of their characters. It's of yours. Even if I'm working with the highest diva who is just like her, I still need her. Why? Because of who I am. If she was the cheater and she neglected her children and she did all the wrong things, I cannot make a judgment. I can just say, I respect that because of who I am. Yes, Natalie, question.
No question. I think we keep losing you. Is everyone getting that feeling? Where you
Oh, sorry, then the
out?
internet is unstable.
Yeah, I'm also picking it up. You disappear now and again for 2 seconds.
I apologize. I think at the place where I'm at, the internet is not the best that it can be. So apologies for that. Is with the load shedding and all the rest, we had to move to a new place. So apologies. Natalie, if I do drop, just let me know and I'll just repeat the last couple of words. Everyone okay? Right. Ladies and gents, the last part that we spoke about there. Yes,
Louis,
George?
I think the load shedding can't keep up with the speed the way you're talking.
I will take that under advisement. Thank you, George. Right. So, ladies and gents, if we are talking, we show respect to everyone. Why? Because of who I am. I decide that. Even if I meet John, John he's not a nice person. He's not a person that I would like to spend time with, but I'm doing business with John. I respect John. Why? Because of who Louis is, not because of who John is. That's how I would like John to feel, is to be respected. The next part is the relationship goal. Now, this becomes a little bit challenging if you are the mediator, because you've got a role to play. And the question is, how would I want this person to feel about me? Both parties. So on the one hand, I want them to trust me. So how do I get to that point? One, I ask questions. I'm intrigued by this. I am curious about this. I'm going to do everything that I can to get as much clarity as possible so that Natalie feels heard and that I have the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I ask questions. I listen to understand, not just to respond. I'm not just listening to make a little text box exercise. This is an emotive situation that people are in, and I can ask questions to get clarity and also go like, yeah, I hear you. Wow. Let's work on that. Some other things that we can do is just be the cheerleader. There's enough people that's on their cases. There's enough people that hate them. Everybody is taking sides. You know, you need to be in one or the other camp, either on the husband's side or on the two. Now you just need to come in and be able to be the cheerleader and cheer for both teams and go like, guys, I appreciate this. Wow, I see this. Wow, we did good work today. Wow, we made progress. I want to acknowledge both of you. Let's move forward. If we don't do that, I'm like, yeah, the wife did well. Mr. Husband, you need to suck it up. Hey, you are no, be the cheerleader. And we solve the problem. We don't solve the person. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be good at mediation, the most important thing is, what's the problem we're trying to solve right now? And it might have different facets. Sometimes the kids are easy. It's easy to go like, okay, they're going to say with mom, I'm going to pay for all the schooling. Awesomeness. Right. It's easy to do the deviation of assets. You know, you get the car, I get the house, we can split the dogs. Okay, whatever the case might be. But then it gets difficult with, okay, so who pays for the medical aid for me? How long am I still going to be on your payroll? Who, you know, with who is mom-in-law going to move in? Things like that. Solve the problem. Identify the problem, solve the problem. We're not going to solve people. It's not our jobs. Our jobs is to solve the problem. What would I do if I were in their shoes? What would I do if I were in their shoes? And here's the thing. This is what Rick Warren said. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less. I don't need to impress you by showing you how great I am. I need to make sure that you get what you want from the session. I want to make sure that at the end of this mediation process, there are two people that are walking out that are healthy, that have an amicable solution, and that I save them a lot of time and a lot of tears, and that they can go into the world a little bit better than they were coming into this. Cool. And for that, I don't need to show you all the certificates that I have, and please remember me and do all those things. It's not what we have. The last thing is, and this is your own specific way of looking at the world. How would you like to feel about yourself? Now, this is a character question. So let me just state the following. In our practice, we do EQ training as well. And one of the first things in EQ that you need to know is you choose. Your emotional response, the decision about. Maybe many years ago, I don't like taxis. Every time a taxi cuts me off, I get angry. I made that decision in my 20s. Everybody still with me? Okay, right. Somewhere I made a decision. I decided to marry someone. I decided to get a divorce, or someone decided for me. But there was a choice made. What did Viktor Frankl said? He was in the concentration camps, and he said, the only thing I've got control over is my reaction. So make that choice. Know that you are choosing your responses in that specific thing. And now here's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen. Under your skin, that's a good question to ask yourself, is why did that trigger me? With me, Natalie? Repeat. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are in a mediation session and someone gets under your skin, it's a good question to ask yourself, why? What about that person's approach or words or whatever? Why did that impact me? And you need to work through that. So maybe it's something from your past, from your experiences, or something that you've seen previously, and something triggers, and now you become aggressive, or you become defiant, or you become a victim, whatever the case might be. If you to address that. So be honest about your feelings. And the last couple of things is be clear on your negotiables and your non-negotiables. I can take a lot of things. I can listen through, I can coach a lot of people. I don't need to impress anyone. But if you curse me, that's a different conversation altogether.
Can you explain that conversation?
You're gonna just don't curse at me. But flip me. I can take it that you even think that I'm stupid. Because I don't need to impress you. But don't belittle me. Don't speak down to me. That's not. Also, if you are leading mediation session, you can put down the ground rules. Guys, this is how we do it. We're not going to shout at each other. We're not going to interrupt each other. And when that happens, remember, we agreed on this. This is what we're doing now. But then you need to play the fair game. Can I quote you on that? That is a good approach in general, is whatever you say, you must be able to be so at ease with it that if Juliet goes out and says, you know what Louis said, and someone comes to me and said, Louis, did you say that? That I must be able to say, yeah. Yeah, I said that. And not like, hey, Natalie, did you hear? And now it gets to Marie. Marie's like, Louis, did you say that? To get to you. That's not. So if you are in mediation, the question that you have to ask yourself is, how do you feel about yourself at the end of a session? If you're standing in the shower tonight, can you honestly say that you did your best? That you were impartial? That you wanted the best for the children? Or you have a soft space for, women that are in a less than prime situation? Did you get the best for that? But were you honest and true towards your motivations as well? If you don't like yourself, you're going to be on a long journey with someone that you don't like and appreciate. Respect yourself and others will respect you, says Confucius. If you are on a slippery slope with half-truths or doing things a little bit shady or, manipulating a situation to get a specific outcome, that's a question you need to ask yourself. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that approach? I've got some more slides. Let me just end with the following. We've got 5 minutes left. When I thought about mediation in the beginning, fighting for a puck, and you are just the referee, and you're just making sure that everybody sticks to the rules, and if they step out of line, you blow the whistle and you correct them. If this is your approach to mediation, please get out of mediation.
Can you repeat that?
You are not the... Okay. If this is your approach to mediation, if your approach to mediation is that you're the referee, please get out of mediation. This is not what it's supposed to be. You are not the one that is helping two guys battle it out to see who's going to win. We are coaches. We are people that are on a journey with people. Pros get two people to an outcome. Will there be battles? Absolutely. Will there be fists thrown? Absolutely. Do you sometimes need to, take away the blood and the snot and the tears and everything? Yeah, absolutely. But your approach can't be, okay, have at it and I'll pick up the pieces at the end. That's not the way that we do things. If we're talking about communication, one of the core things that you need to understand is the role of a mediator is to translate. In some of our other practices, we have a whole session on making sure that there's clarity and that people have looking at the world. In mediation, even more so. We must be able to, like George pointed out earlier, listen to what's being said and put that forward to the other person and say, okay, so George, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is what you were proposing and this is what you want. Yes. Okay. So Nali, this is what George is proposing and this is what he said. So now I'm becoming a medium, a mediator. I'm taking information and I'm packaging it in a way that Nali can understand. And the mere fact that it's not coming from George already makes it a lot easier to understand. I'm taking the Georgianese that George is speaking, I'm putting it through a filter and I'm expressing it in a Nali way so that there's like, okay, I understand that now. Oh, okay, I see the motivation. Mediation, if anything else, is a communication game. It is the place where you need to be clear on what the outcomes are. Ladies and gents, I still have a couple of slides. I don't think it's relevant for the conversation that we're in now. Let me just maybe share this final one with you. Why do people get into conflict? Why do people come for mediation? Well, sometimes it's just personality clashes. That's just some reasons in business. I just don't like Natalie. Natalie doesn't like me. And now we're stuck in a team together. And it's just like, it's water and oil. It just doesn't mix. And we are trying, but it's just not working. Sometimes there's unrealistic needs and expectations. I expect my husband to be at home at 6. But when I'm home at 6, I expect the laundry to be done and the dishes to be packed out and dinner on the table. I expect from this mediation process that you will hear me and that I will walk away with millions and that you will belittle the other person. Okay, that's not going to work. Other priorities, understand this. People come into mediation because they want a divorce. Tell me if I'm going away. People come into mediation because they want a divorce. But that might not be the sole motivation. They're coming in because they want a divorce. Let's say the lady wants to make sure that she's going to be financially looked after and there's going to be provision for her and for the children and that they can continue living the lifestyle that they have. The guy just wants to come in because he's already has another wife in the pipeline and he wants to get the divorce through as quickly as possible so that he can go and get married. Of cases, the process dragged out so long, the mediation was on the point that the divorce had to be finalized. Otherwise, he could not make his next wedding date. And that gave a lot of power to the other party. There were different priorities. There's business values, there's limited resources. Limited resources is there's one car, who gets it? There's one dog, who gets it? There's one beach house, who gets it? And then having that back and forth to be able to have that. And then just unresolved workplace issues or whatever the case might be. Ladies and gents, that is an overview from me for today. If we want to mediate for it, we need to understand empower people to get to the point that they can feel that they can say yes, because they are informed, they are heard, and that their contribution or their opinions have value. To do that, they must be able to trust you and to trust the process, to trust that you are going to take them through a transparent process in which you are going to be neutral and that your outcomes is to be a translator, to take the information and to present it to them in a way that's understandable. Secondly, we want to make sure that they feel respected and that they respect you, that they don't walk all over you. They don't think you are just, you're not a lawyer, you're not a judge, who are you supposed to be? But that they respect the process and that they respect you as the mediator and the role that you play. And finally, we need to do it in a way that if we are mediating for a yes, that the yes that you get is something that you must be comfortable in saying, I got here transparent. Was followed, got to the point where I can go and sleep tonight and go, I did my job in the best possible way for the best possible outcomes. That's my presentation for tonight. We have 15 minutes left. for Q&A. Please have at it. I am happy to answer any questions with regards to the presentation, or if there's anything else that you would like to have clarity on. Let's start there. So Natalie, you can facilitate this part. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Natalie can facilitate, or just raise your hand and let's see if we can answer some questions. Natalie, over to you. Questions, remarks, process going forward.
So I've got a question for you.
Yeah, please have at it.
So just keen, because as a mediator, I know I've made 1 or 2 phone calls to an opposing party, and they swore at me. So just out of interest, you said we can do anything, but just not belittle you and swear at you. What would be your response? I'm keen to hear.
So again, so again, now we need to play the game. So some people, you know, this is the way they speak. It's not, they call it an F and car because that F for them, an F and car, it's just the descriptive word. So we need to be able to read that. The other hand is, and this is my approach in general, and I think I said it earlier, if you see something, say something. I tell my boys, if you are feeling in a situation that you are not comfortable, you need to acknowledge it. You're like, listen, I'm not comfortable, and you need to walk away. Be it socially, be it with an older person, be it, you know, in an environment with friends, whatever the case might be. So Natalie, if we are having a conversation, on the one hand, I hope that you pick up that every time you drop an F-bomb, I go like, the other hand is just like, listen, I just want to, Natalie, I hear you. I see that you are very passionate about this. Use nice and neutral words, not like you are aggressively attacking me. You can see that you are passionate about this. If I could, however, ask you to refrain from cursing at me. It's not helping the process forward. And it feels like I can't trust you of having that conversation. Many a times, just by doing that, we defuse the situation and we're just giving power back to the person. So like, you don't need to feel that you need to attack me to have a conversation. I hear you. You're a powerful person. Awesomeness. Can we have it in this way? And if they still like, no, who the heck are you? What? Great. Let's move on from the conversation. Does that help, Nat? It's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy. It takes a lot of kahunas to stand up to someone, specifically if they're passionate and they're in your face and I'm going to hit you next time I see you. It's like, I hear you. That's the way we want to deal it. Does that help, Natalie?
It does. Thank you.
Good. Right. Next up is George. If you have a question or remark, please raise your hand. George, question or remark, please.
Yeah, just to come back to what Natalie raised. Strangely enough, I did mediation and negotiation at UCT, and the one guest lecturer indicated that when that happens, tell them how it impacts you, how you feel about it. Yeah. And just coming back to that, would it be then good to do that or not? Because it would also look like that you're not holding the position, or you not have control over the situation. Because if you start unpacking what emotions or what that is doing to you, would that not then create a situation of you not actually having control over the mediation then? I'm just putting it out there. Thanks.
So George, I think on the one hand, it really depends on if it's the first session or the last session. If something pops up, we can go like, okay, guys, I'm seeing that there's something rearing its head here. Can we please agree that as part of our ground rules, we don't curse at each other? And that includes me. George, if it's a longer session, if this is session 1, then we need to delve into a little bit more like, okay, George, let's just have this conversation. And I need to clear this up. When you are cursing at me, what are you trying to achieve? And I'll ask you straight, what are you trying to achieve? What's the outcome? Why are you shouting at me? And it's not like I feel inferior when you shout at me. I'm trying to figure out, I'm really curious, what are you trying to achieve? Because maybe there's another way to achieve that without you shouting at me. Now, again, it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of putting yourself out there to be able to take this question. But, okay, what are you trying to achieve? Is there another way we can do it? Great. Maybe we can do this without shouting. I hear you. I acknowledge that you have a relevant point. we don't need to shout to tell me what it is. In fact, it's kind of taking away the whole, method of what you're saying if you're shouting the whole time. I'm struggling to hear what you're really passionate about the whole time. Yeah, George, I don't know if that speaks to it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, thank you. I like the approach, but I just wanted to add that sometimes we don't know if that person is trying to derail the mediation and trying also to get under your skin as the mediator. And I think maybe it would be good, and you need to think on your feet very quickly and assess the situation to understand. So if you can think on your feet, then you can try and deal with what approach you're going to take to deal with this. Because sometimes the person feels like he's forced to come to the mediation. And as much as you're trying to be neutral, people might think you're taking sides or whatever. And then that can also happen, or trying to put a point forward by emphasizing it, by attacking you as the mediator also. That's also a lot of possibilities on that. But let me pause there. Thank you.
That's fine. So again, I would just like to reiterate what we said earlier. If you see something, say something. If the person is shouting, acknowledge it. I see that you are passionate about this. Can I ask you? I can hear you without you shouting. Or, okay, you mentioned this now. Why did you use that word? What are you trying to communicate? What are you trying to say? I'm hearing this. Is this what you're saying? Giving it back, making sure that the outcome is best possible solution, best possible clarity and communication. But that takes a lot of effort from you. But hearing this, is this how I can interpret it? I'm hearing this. This is how we want to take it forward. Good. Other questions or remarks before I hand over to Miriam and Gugu and Juliet for specific questions? Anybody else before I ask Miriam? Going once, going twice. Miriam, some feedback from you on the session. Any questions? Followed by Gugu and then Juliet. Miriam, something that stood out for you? Questions? Miriam is finding the unmute button. Right. Gugu, something that stood out for you, and then Juliet. Gugu, questions, remarks, something that stood out for you about the session?
Okay. I'm not yet. Do you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you clearly. Yes, please carry on. Yes.
Okay. I'm not yet a mediator, but I am interested to be a mediator. But my question is, I'm a social worker, so I ask myself, because most of the time when you try to mediate, the clients will say you are biased. I wonder, when you are a mediator, how do you tackle that?
I'm not in a position to answer that from a mediation point of view. I think there must be protocol to be able to say, we've established ground rules. What's fair for the one is fair for the other one. We're trying to make it as transparent and predictable as possible. Why do you feel that there's unbiased? What do you feel is unfair? And address the situation. Natalie, you had your hand up in response to that.
Kind of, yes. But what I wanted to say is, yes, Gugu, studying social work does not automatically make you a mediator, as you've identified. The mediation course kind of teaches you the principles of mediation, and one of them is neutrality. And like Louis said earlier on, it's understanding your prejudices, your own biases, your own triggers. And the more you have a good understanding of who you are on the inside, the better you'll be open-minded in your sessions, but also be able to hold space for people who are different, with different opinions in the room. But that's something you learn through the mediation training.
Yeah. And Natalie, just to your point, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an industry where you can take things personally.
You can't.
Take it personally. That is the quickest way to derail it. So Teresa comes to me and shouts at me. I can't get involved in that and go like, well, you're shouting at me, now I'm going to shout at you. We can't do that. So you need to be the one that is, the duck above water, nice, calm, collected. Even if it's going like this on the inside, if I get that person in the middle of the night with a car that's not marked, I'm going to run him over. Even if you feel that, just express it, write it in your journal, get it out of your system, and be professional. I hope that answers the question, Gugu. Juliet, some feedback from you, and then Nalin. Gugu, final question, remark? Right.
No, I'm covered. Yes.
Juliet, and then Ali. Juliet, questions, remarks, feedback? Juliet, unmuted and muted again. Here we go. Juliet?
I'm fine at this stage. Thank you. I'm
Good.
fine
All right.
at this stage. Thank you for the info, eh?
Perfect. Thank you, Juliet. Nalin,
Yeah.
Angus, anybody else? Debbie, any questions or remarks before I hand to Marie for final thoughts? Going once, going twice. Debbie, questions?
Well, not really a question, but funny enough, I was having this discussion with my husband before I joined the call, and we were talking about children, because I have friends, and the son is 10 and the daughter's 6, and they've just now discovered the habit of shouting, and it's shouting at their parents, and of course that's something that I do not have patience for.
Yes.
But we were trying to uncover the reason as to why, and my husband was saying, well, is it something that they are learning from their parents, and and then manifesting that behavior, or where does it come from? But I think and from a mediation point of view, and the fact that we are working with adults, is that as children, it's clear that they are frustrated, and in an ability to convey that frustration or communicate that frustration, they feel like shouting is a way of getting it out.
Yes.
And we've had to try to explain to them, shouting does not make me hear you. And it's easy when you're trying to do that with a child, but how do you try to do that with an adult?
And I want to say, Debbie, to your point, age does not equate maturity. And you will be able to, like, I understand that you are 10 years old and that you are feeling frustrated and you don't know how to express yourself. It's difficult to have that conversation with a 45-year-old. So, like, I see that you are frustrated, use your words.
Yes.
But then the emotions are like angry, sad, frustrated, I don't know, in fear. That's like the 4 emotions that they might know. And even within that, it's difficult for them to express it. So yes, absolutely. It's part of the education process as well. People are many a times people are in mediation because there was a lack of communication or communication breakdown. We're not saying it's immature people that come for mediation, but there's hurt and there's something that broke. There's something that's not the way that it was supposed to be for that relationship. Now we're bringing that to the table. We're not going to solve that, but we need to be able to work around that, acknowledge that, and help people to feel heard, help get to an outcome that's neutral. Does that help, Debbie?
It does, especially, I think it's a skill because you have to do that without sounding patronizing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So again, Debbie, the only thing I want to leave you with, if you're talking about kids, if you're talking about mediation process, you're talking about people in business, the best approach is, if you see something, say something. If there's something if the child is acting in a way that they should not, address it immediately. Listen, in this house, we don't shout at each other. Listen, in this house, we don't cut our sister's hair with scissors. Listen, in this house, whatever the case might be, if you see something, say something.
I like that.
Otherwise, they can carry it with that specific process. Good. But also, if you see something, say something. Hey, Debbie, well done. Thank you for making your bed this morning. Thank you for doing this. Hey, Mr. So-and-so, thank you for this session. I saw that we made a lot of progress and that you were really involved in it. So I see something, say something. Just makes people feel heard and seen. Good. Marie, Janet, and then Teresa and Corin, if you've got any final thoughts or feedback. Marie, question, remark?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. It's a very good session, and it's good to have these reminders of that we should acknowledge effort, and we should let clients vent and not take anything personally. Like Natalie said, we must be able to hold space, but don't allow the discussions to become destructive or counterproductive by swearing or shouting. So it's a fine line.
And then, Marie, you have people that are narcissistic or people that are brilliant emotional manipulators. And if you have a button that they can push, they're going to push it the whole time. So you need to be able to acknowledge that, step away, keep space, hold space.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you, Marie. Janet and team. Janet, final thoughts from your side?
I haven't got much to say, just to say thank you very much. I enjoyed your vibrancy. You kept me awake. Very interesting. Thank you very much.
It's the biggest compliment for the night. Thank you, Janet. Teresa, Corin, feedback from you, and then I'm going to hand to Natalie for closing remarks. Teresa, Corin?
I just want to say thank you, Louis, once again for always very informative sessions. And I want to, everybody online that are mediators or aspiring mediators, remember, these are all skills. What Louis is offering, the training that he also does in his private practice, the training that you do as a mediator, all of that are skills in your toolbox that enables you to help people. The skill, because it's a skill, the skill to hold space, the skill to stay unbiased, the skill to stay calm, to actually distance yourself from certain situations. Those are all skills. So this is why social justice actually offers these trainings, and Louis very graciously also offers his time, because we want to enhance the skills. Louis, thank you very much. You are always amazing.
Thank you, Teresa. Ladies and gents, the one thing about a skill is you can improve it. It's not a given. It's not like you are a male and you can't change that. It's like you have a skill and you can improve that. You can move forward. Karen and then Natalie. Karen, anything from your side? Just unmute for a piece.
Thank you very much for a very informative chat. I think all of us learned a lot, and we can definitely add skills to our toolbox, as Teresa mentioned just now, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Corin. Natalie, final thoughts from your side before we hit home. Final thoughts in closing, please.
No final thoughts, just saying thank you very much for spending the last hour with us. I've learned a lot just in the last hour. I came in here very tired as we had a chat before 6 o'clock, but I feel as vibrant as your voice and your
yeah.
So thank you so much. I think on behalf of everyone in social justice, you are amazing and you've just poured lots into us. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Natalie. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anything else, my surname is weird enough that if you Google it, you will come across something. If you need other contact details, please feel free to reach out to the social justice team. They've got all the contact details. And yeah, just if you have any other questions for me or for my company, please feel free to do so. Thank you, Natalie. I'm going to play us some music. Any other questions?
Maybe you want to put your contact details in the chat box before you leave. It might be an idea if you're comfortable to share.
I will do that. I'm comfortable to share that. Other than that, thank you so much. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, from the 1990s, please help me welcome back Hootie and the Blowfish.
Until I give